Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to look at how to test hypothesis using the p-value method when the population standard deviation is known. Last time we saw the critical value method where we compared the critical value with the test statistic. So in this particular method we're going to use TI-84 plus and we're going to compare the p-value with the given alpha level. So we're going to illustrate this using this simple example. The mean height of women in Texas is known to be 59.3 inches. In a sample of 48 women between the ages of 60 and 80, the mean height is 60.5 inches. We want to know whether the mean height for older women is more than the mean height of women in Texas. The alpha level is 0.05. So we're going to state the null and alternative hypothesis. We're going to state the conclusion. Now you can see that the population standard deviation is given 3.2, so that's why we're going to use a Z test. Okay, so the null hypothesis, of course, the mean zero is 59.3, and you can see the alternative hypothesis mean zero is greater than 59.3. Why? Because we have that the sample mean is 60.5, which is more than 59.3. Now remember that the numbers you use for both the alternative hypothesis and the null hypothesis will be the same. Okay, don't use different numbers. So we're going to do this using this table right here. We have the population mean given as 59.3. The standard deviation for population is given as 60.5. The sample size is 48, and this is a right-tail test because we are saying that the sample mean is greater than the known population mean. Okay, so we are going to go to our TI-84 plus and do this. So we're going to go to start. Whenever you want to test hypothesis using the p-value method, you go to start and then go to tests. Now and again, look at z-test, the very first one. Because we know the population standard deviation, we're going to use the z-test. Okay, so you select, and then we are not getting our numbers from the table, so we are going to get to start. We're given the numbers already at the values we need, the population mean, mean zero, the standard deviation, sample mean, and all those. So we are given them, so we're going to use start and enter them. Okay, so the mean zero is 59.3. 59.3. Enter. We have the standard deviation of the population is 3.2. 3.2. The sample mean is given as 60.5. 60.5. The sample size is 48. 48. Okay, now you go down and select the type of tail. Is it left tail, right tail, or both tails, two tails? So the first one is two tails, left tail and the right tail. You can see that we already chosen that it is a right tail, because right here you can see the alternative hypothesis mean zero is greater than 59.3. Okay, so we're going to select the very last one, the right tail test, and then we are going to calculate. Okay, so you can see the output. The very first one is just having our alternative hypothesis. The second one is the test statistic. Test statistic is 2.59 or 60. This is the p-value, and this is what you are going to use to compare with the alpha level. Okay, the p-value, let's write it right here, down right here. P-value is 0.0047. If we round to 4 decimal places, 47. Okay, so now you compare the p-value with your alpha given. The alpha level is 0.05. Or right here, there's the alpha level. Okay, now remember we said that if the p-value is less than the alpha level, you will reject the null hypothesis. So the p-value is less than alpha in this case, so we reject the null hypothesis. So say reject the null hypothesis. Okay, and then what do we conclude? There is sufficient evidence to conclude that the mean height for older women is greater than 59.3. Again, remember that when you reject the null hypothesis, you are saying that there is evidence to conclude that the alternative hypothesis is true. If you fail to reject, then you say there's insufficient evidence to conclude that the alternative hypothesis is true. Okay? So anytime the p-value is less than the alpha level that you have chosen, then you will reject the null hypothesis. If the p-value is greater, then we will fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so that is the p-value. You compare that with the alpha level, and that's pretty straightforward and simple using TI-84 plus. Well, if your null value is contained in the interval, then we'll fail to reject the null hypothesis. Talking about the relationship between confidence interval and the hypothesis. Okay, if your null mean is outside of the confidence interval, then it means you're going to reject the null hypothesis. So you reach the same conclusion. Okay, so if you are using the confidence interval, look for the null value. If it's contained in the confidence interval, then it means that you will fail to reject the null. If it's outside of the confidence interval, then you will reject the null hypothesis. You're going to take the draw the same conclusion if you reject or fail to reject. Okay, so that is how we test hypothesis using the p-value method using the TI-84 plus. Okay, so since we come again, have a very wonderful time. Thank you. Bye bye.